Hey guys, this is a segment from the Slumpbuster Podcast. You can find the full episode on any of the various podcast platforms, or of course, subscribe to us on YouTube for more of our content. Other than that, guys, sit down, bust a slump, and enjoy. Doug Pederson. So he's officially gone from the Philadelphia Eagles. I said that move made the most sense given their cap situation, given you just can't trade Carson. It basically locks him in that starter for 2021 because Jalen Hurts, yes, he's shown flashes, but he also did only have 70-some passing yards in that last game anyway. I understand now the tanking situation, that makes it look bad. It's not like Jalen Hurts was tearing up the Washington football team defense that night either.
Right.
Was this the right move in your mind? It felt like the only move to me.
Yeah, I feel you. So I actually had a show on this last night, and it was a good perspective the way we got into it, man. So you look at Doug Pederson as a head coach. He's 46, 39-1, 49, 36-1, somewhere around those numbers, but I'm pretty close on that. 4-2 in the postseason. But after the Super Bowl, he's 22, 25-1 as a head coach. And for anyone listening that might not know what that is, that's 22 wins, 25 losses, and a tie. So he hasn't had a positive record. Yes, he went 9-7 those couple of years. And I give a lot of respect to Carson Wentz. I mean, he was the first quarterback to throw for 4,000 yards and not have a receiver catch for 500. Like, that in itself is insane. But the fact that you can go 9-7 being that injury plagued, like you look at the Falcons, they've been devastated from injuries for the past few years. And I feel like the Falcons potentially have one of the worst coaching staffs in the league, and they keep falling. You look at the Eagles, back-to-back 9-7, but now to the 4-11-1. So, or 4-12, whatever it was. But getting rid of Doug Pederson, it's tough because, you look at the Super Bowl year, Carson Wentz still went down. When Carson Wentz went down, it almost felt like that was a narrative kind of put on Philadelphia, because in the both 9-7 seasons, I mean, they're throwing a practice squad, guys, like literally. There's nobody on the roster that is an actual threat, for Philadelphia, which, explains the success they haven't had in the past few seasons. But you look at Doug Pederson, to still be able to go 9-7 those two seasons, and then yes, you do fall to 4-11, and the benching of Jalen Hurts is pretty, like that was awful. That really might have sealed the deal. But to me, in a way, I feel like maybe Doug Pederson, he got the short end of the stick, or maybe he got dealt a bad hand. And here's why: because this guy just won the Super Bowl 3 years ago. He just won a shootout with the greatest NFL player of all time, and Tom Brady. He beat Bill Belichick. Like, Brady's lost a Super Bowl 3 times, one to Doug Pederson and twice to Tom Coughlin, with Eli Manning and the Giants. So that has something to say, most definitely. Obviously, like you said, you can't deal Carson, so you kind of start to look at Doug Pederson again. I think you give Jalen Hurts all the chance in the world. I think he's played good football, maybe not fantastic football, but look at the draft class that he's more than likely getting compared to. So do I feel like Doug Pederson going probably was the best move? Yeah, because let's get a fresh start. Let's get everybody back healthy. Let's just get a new overall mantra, I guess, in Philadelphia. But if I was a fan, I feel like I'd be really distraught because we were just in the Super Bowl, like I said, 4 years ago, beating Tom Brady in a shootout on the grandest stage of them all. Like, that was amazing for the city. I mean, hell, there's a statue of Nick Foles and Doug Pederson, and now they're both gone. So, like, if you even wanted to hold that up, that's out of the window. But Doug Pederson leaving, man, it's tough. But when you look at everything else, it unfortunately feels like he was the one that had to get out of there. So, like I said, I hate it for him, but I understand Philly, and they're a northern team, dude. The media up there doesn't take anything. They'll straight up call you dog trash on the radio and make you listen to it. Like, up north is way different than down south. So I totally understand the move, but I feel for Doug Pederson. I don't really know his value right now in the NFL. Like, who would rightfully want to have him? Maybe a coordinator, but I don't think he's a head coach, material right now. So that's definitely where I stand on that, man.
Well, the problem for Doug Pederson is if you're an offensive coach, but you don't call your own plays, then you're basically worthless at this point in the league.
Exactly.
For Doug, he is the shortest tenured Super Bowl winning head coach since John Gruden at this point. And You're right, that statue, I don't know, like they do still have the Rocky statue in Philly, so I guess they can leave it standing. At least it happened. It did, in fact, happen, guys. Philly, Nick Foles winning a Super Bowl. I know it sounds like a dream, but yes, you were, in fact, sober, except most of Philly that night.
Right, literally.
As far as kind of like from the perspective of the Philadelphia Eagles, at this point, I think Doug Pederson getting fired was the start of what needs to be a grander change in that locker room. We saw those reports of Carson Wentz. His practice habits aren't good enough. People thought that Nick Foles should have not got traded. And those are coming from player sources. Who are those player sources? There's been a lot of assumptions over the last few years. Alshon Jeffrey or Zach Ertz. It's time for them to just kind of like clear house of any of that relationship. If they want to move forward with Carson, which it sounds like, again, they have to. There's an economic element to this at this point.
At this point, yes.
To move forward with Carson Wentz.
It's cheaper to keep her for Philadelphia in terms of Carson Wentz right now, man. That's how bad it is.
Yeah, so anyone that's on like that 2017 roster that won the thing,
right,
unfortunately need to go, which is hard to do when you talk about, like, again, guys like Zach Ertz, who, yeah, he looked a little washed anyway, or, Alshon, his time had come in Philly. Yeah, if you're the Eagles moving forward, looking at the division, you can still bounce back and win this thing. It's not a foregone conclusion. None of the teams in that division at the moment have a franchise quarterback. If you think Carson Wentz was as good as the guy you drafted him to be, then you are instantly ahead of everyone in that division, regardless of what Washington did, what Dallas did.
Well, respect to Dak, of course, but I get what you're saying. Dak is going to continue to be a box score king, but until they get that coaching right in Dallas, it's a no-go.
And we still don't know what's going to happen with Dak as far as his contract situation. When he's coming back from that injury, I don't think that plays into it as much. Obviously, it seems like it's making a full recovery. It was a clean break, which, it looked ugly. Don't get me wrong, looked ugly on TV. But I think he'll be fine based off other players that have had similar injuries.
Right.
Their biggest conundrum is, can we win with this guy versus how we pay this guy? When they were able to win a few games with Andy Dalton, when they were still losing games with Dak, it's like,
right,
is this 40 million? It doesn't feel like 40 million.
Exactly. I feel that if you're going to be getting paid that much, you got to be putting up something. Like, you look at the top paid quarterbacks in the NFL this year. Like, even Jared Goff had a decent season. Big Ben, Russell Wilson, with the exception of Matt Ryan, Drew Brees had a decent year. He was, hurt for some, but when you're potentially going to get paid like that, like, that's the type of money where you're special, where you overcome the bad coaching, where you overcome the subpar areas of your team. Like you're the quarterback, you're the leader, and Dak's got all that, but I don't know if he can elevate the Cowboys to that next level because, like I've said, man, coaching matters way more than talent in the NFL. No question. The Browns from last year to this year were a perfect example of that.
Well, here's a stat. The last quarterback to win a Super Bowl being over 13% of their cap hit was Steve Young. Steve Young hasn't played since the 90s. That's where it comes into this thing too, even with Carson as well, is like, damn, we're paying this guy a lot of money. It's going to be really hard to build around him when we have no money to work with it. Definitely makes that job a little lukewarm as far as like empty head coaching positions. There was that rumor that they reached out to Lincoln Riley, but if you're looking at open head coaching positions, where does Philly rank for you?
In terms of like, is it an attractive job?
I mean, if you're a head coaching candidate, you want to go to a job with an opportunity to legitimately succeed.
Right.
You're not going into the job assuming that you'll be out in 3 years.
Right. Absolutely. I would say, obviously, if Philadelphia can stay healthy, they've got talent, they've got players, they made moves on the defense in the offseason, in the draft. I don't think they moved at the trade deadline, but, bringing in Darius Slay was a good pickup. And they just got, they've got decent talent in general. I would say, I'd probably have to agree with you. It's probably a warm coaching spot. I don't think it would be as attractive as maybe like a Chargers job or maybe, a Falcons job, because like those are teams that are uber talented, but they're falling short in coaching. And I feel like those two teams that I just named, would be a better, landing spot for a coach. But as far as Philadelphia, yeah, it'd probably be warm for me just because, you got to keep those guys healthy, and the defense isn't the greatest, but there's still potential there to win. And like I said, there's no doubting the talent. So if I had to give it a scale of 1 to 10, probably for me, like a 4 or a 5, I'd probably chill at a 5, nothing insane, but definitely, a place still going to work for without question.